woke up and I was getting some excruciating pains in my stomach. There was a night where I was literally shivering in the bed. So I was thinking something's not right. And I remember they were kind of like morbid. My partner even said to me that they was just like, what's your last words to her? I was just like, I got this, and then everything went black. This had been a week of me being in a induced coma, and my body was just revealed to me, and my limbs were back. So the plastics team came and saw me, and they explained these limbs are dead, they're not going to come back, and they need to be amputated because they can cause further infection. So at that point, I was just like, it's all good you guys saying this, but this is my body. I'm a mother of 4, and I need my hands and my feet. So I'm not just going to quickly say yes to this. I want to see how much my body can heal. So there was like, it's on you, but it is causing infection. It can cause further infection if you keep them for longer. So that was in about May. They had that conversation with me, and I didn't have my first amputation until August the 22nd, 2023. Yeah, because I was just like, I was against it until it got to a point where they weren't letting me home without these amputations. They said my care needs would be too high to let me go with the black limbs. So I had to have this operation to move forward in my life. And obviously sitting months and months in hospital, missing my kids and missing key moments in their life. One of my daughters, she was leaving nursery, started primary school. I missed her first day, stuff like that. So I was like, I need to get back to my kids. So basically, they done my procedure in 2 parts. On August the 22nd, I had the first amputation, which they just got rid of the black parts. So in order to make a good prosthetic and a good fit, you have to kind of go further up. So the black parts was probably up to like my calf area, but they had to go a bit further up. So they just, first operation, they just got rid of the black part and kind of just left it. They just wrapped it up. So they did that with both legs and my left arm, and they hadn't touched my right hand at all yet, because there was still in 2 minds about my right arm, whether they were going to leave it, just remove the fingers, remove the hand, because this hand was like healing. So yeah, 2 weeks later, on September the 5th, that's when they now made the stump. So they took a bit more, used the skin, and then stapled it together to make an actual stump for both legs. And then that's when they decided to take my fingers on my right hand on that second operation. So yeah, I woke up from that operation. I was a full amputee at this point. The stumps were formed, and I basically had some drips that was draining out any excess blood. So I was like attached to some drips for a few weeks before they took those out, and then the healing process actually started. So I went to rehab in October. I think it was like the first week of October. I went to rehab. They transferred me from the hospital, took an ambulance there. That was one of the things I said to them also before I agreed to this operation. I said, I want to see the rehab place and I want to meet an amputee to have a conversation with. So I went to the rehab place and I saw it. I met some lovely amputees, took their numbers, and I also got to meet an amputee who had been an amputee for 13 years at that point. She came with her husband. I sat down with her in a room for about 2 hours, and I could literally ask her anything, and she would answer truthfully. And she was just telling me, you're still young, life goes on, I'm older than you, and I go on holidays with my husband all the time, I go concerts, I do this. She's like, your life has not stopped. So she gave me that push and motivation to say, I got this, basically. So yeah, it was really helpful speaking to her, and then helpful obviously going to the rehabilitation hospital as well. So when I'd gone there to actually stay now, because they do inpatient and outpatients. So I was an inpatient. So I was there every day, Monday to Friday. We'd go to the gym 9 to 12, and that's where we're doing that exercise. So we did that for a few weeks, and then they'll do casting of my leg because my leg was all healed, so I was ready for prosthetics. They done the casting on my leg. I got my test sockets, which is like your first sockets you get. It's not the proper ones, it's just the ones that you practice on to make sure it's the correct fit. So they gave me my test sockets, it was the correct fit, and then they made the infinitive sockets. And yeah, once you get those, you spend like half your rehab sessions, physio sessions, doing exercise or walking around with like other equipped walking aids to practice your walking. So yeah, I got my prosthetics. I remember the first time trying them on, and I was like, I hate this. I stood up and I was like, this is crazy. I can't do it. It hurt so much. And because I'd been in the wheelchair for months, it was a lot on my stumps. I had never took that type of pressure on my stumps. So yeah, I hated it. And then I just kept on pushing. Every day in the gym, I would get better and stronger. And then there was just one day when I just kind of said, I'm going to test just walking without the aid. And I did it and I was fine. I was getting more stronger on my limbs, my prosthetics. And yeah, by this stage, they had made me like a walking stick to go on this arm. But by that stage, I'd been so used to walking around without it. I didn't really need it. I was just using it for like uneven surfaces. So it was about Christmas time, and I went home to spend Christmas with the kids. Also, I didn't mention that I would get to go home on the weekend. So Monday to Friday, I would spend in the hospital, and then from Friday to Sunday, I'd be at home with my kids. So for about 10 days around the Christmas, New Year's period, I went home without my legs at this point because they can't give it to you yet until they've signed everything off. I went back in January and I literally did my last, I think it was about a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then they discharged me. They said, yeah, we feel like you're ready to leave with the legs.
How was that?
I was like, finally, because every week I was like, is it not my week yet? Like, I'm okay, I can go. But they had to make sure they have to do different type of risk assessments with you as well, to make sure that you're stable enough. And if you're not, that there's things in place. So yeah, by that point, they was like, yeah, you're ready. They were like, you're really stable. Um, so I think I went home. I think it was January the 22nd. That was the day I came home. And that was crazy. My children's father came to pick me up, and I remember walking out the hospital. I was I was really happy. So I got home. Now I've left from having 2 kids to 4 kids because haven't really been in the environment with them all properly. Obviously the weekends, but not actually living in the household. So that was crazy to come back to not having 2 kids, having 4, but twins. And the twins were about 9 months at this stage. So they were active, like crawling around. So yeah, I think at first it was very overwhelming for me. I was thinking, how am I going to do this? I'm still trying to adjust and adapt to myself. Um, but obviously, the support of my children's father and my family, I, I was okay.
How was it for your 2 older kids?
My 2 older kids, so my oldest, he was about 11 at this when everything was going on, so I could have more of a conversation with him. And before the amputation had happened, they had come and seen me and saw the black limbs. But before the amputation had happened, I had spoken to him and I said, listen, I'm gonna have to mommy's gonna have to get rid of the black limbs. I'm gonna have amputation, but I'm gonna have prosthetics and I'm gonna be fine. And I think he was just worried because he was kind of in the dark of what was happening while I was in hospital. So he was just happy that I was gonna be fine. So he was okay. I didn't think he really expressed it to me, but other family members said he was tearful. But I think that was at the stage where he didn't really know what was going on when I was just, because they're not used to not seeing me. They see their mum every single day. So to not have me in the house, that was like, I think that was what was making him upset. But just knowing that I was going to be okay, he was just like, it's okay, mum, as long as you're going to be okay and you're going to come back. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. My second born, she was, so when I was in hospital, actually her birthday is 2 days before I had the first amputation. And I said I got to do something with her. So there was like a park near the hospital. So we had like a part. It was in summertime, so we had like a park party, and I celebrated with her. She turned 4 then, so she was still young, and she would just every time she would see me at hospital, she would like she was really like my handbag. So the separation between me and her, that was like really hard for her. So every time she would see me at hospital, she would like jump in the hospital bed and be like, "Mommy, I'm staying with you. I'm not going home." But then she got used to it, and then she kind of asked a lot of questions like, "What's happening to your hand?" But she was very caring. She used to like touch my hand, and I explained to her that I'm gonna get some new legs soon because she was still young, so I couldn't really get into it. So I said, I'm gonna get some new legs soon and a new arm. So every time she used to come and see me, she was like, "Mommy, where's your new legs? You haven't got your new legs yet." So I was like, "Soon." So when she had come to see me, when I had my operation, she noticed like the bed shape, my body had changed. So she was like, "Mommy." So she lifted the cover and she saw that my legs had been amputated. So she was kind of like, I said, "Remember, Mummy said that I'm going to get my new leg soon." So she was like, "Oh, okay." But I don't know if she understood, but they were both overall they took it well.
Can you talk about if you had any down days when things took a toll on you mentally, emotionally, and physically?
Um, Definitely had down days. I'm a very independent person. I don't really like to ask for help. And having in hospital before I got to rehab, they gave me like a strap so I could feed myself. But in hospital, I'd have to wait for the nurses to feed me or my family to come and feed me. And that was annoying because some people would like feed me like a baby, and I'm like, I'm older, I'm an adult, I need bigger scoops. And it would be very frustrating to me because it's like the basic stuff like that I need help with, like even like going to the toilet. And I remember when after I had like my first period in hospital, and I'm like, oh, what? Like I've got to ring the bell and ask the nurse to like help me. It was just I hated it so much, and it made me feel really low. Um, but it's something I couldn't help. Obviously, I adapted now, and I can do a lot by myself. But there's still a lot that I need help with. So just that first stage, I would say I was feeling down, but I was just grateful at the same time that I was still here. So it didn't really take over me. I would say when I got home, that's when stuff hits you a bit more because when you're in the prosthetic hospital, you're around a lot of amputees. So you're like in a bubble and everyone's going through the same thing as you, whether they've got one leg or two leg amputated, everyone understands each other. So I formed a lot of friendships. So we all got each other. So when you get home and everyone's normal and you're just the slow farm and you're sticking out around your family and everyone's asking you, "How are you?" And I didn't like too much of the attention, but I was okay with it. But I would say the last year, my mental health has been probably the worst. And I feel like with me, I'm the type of person that gets on with things at first, and then it hits me after. So I think I was just on survival, and I was really pushing. So I actually went back to hospital this year to have another procedure on my right hand, and I feel like being back at the same hospital that everything happened, it was like a PTSD moment. Um, I hated it. I couldn't wait to go back home. And then when I got back home, because my right hand is the hand that I do everything with, it put me back to feeling how I felt at the beginning of needing help to do stuff and feeding me. And so that's when I think my mental health went down and I felt really low again. And I feel like that's when everything hit me that I'm not the same. And as much as I push to be as normal as I am, I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to have limbs and there's so much. The legs are not so bad, but the hands, the stuff that your hands do are so intricate that no prosthetic gonna be able to do. So I think that's when I had like a real moment of where I thought deeply, and I was like, I'm gonna have to get used to this. Like, this isn't a dream, this is real. So yeah, I think I'm finally at the stage of accepting my new normal, even though there's days I'm like, just wasn't what happened. But I'm finally getting used to it, and life looks like more thriving for me. Um, Helping other people that's been through similar situations. There's been so much people that's reached out to me and said that they've watched my stories, or they've sent it to a family member that they know that's going through it, and it's helped them and given them some hope. Um, I just want to continue sharing my story. I've shared my story on platforms and the news and magazines. I've been involved in some really good projects, and I do think that I'm going to keep spreading my story, because whether it's saving one person, because even people messaged me and said they had symptoms of sepsis and they didn't think nothing of it, but they remembered back to my video, they went to go check and they had sepsis. So yeah, if I'm even saving one or two people, I'm going to continue spreading my story, spreading awareness. Just look out for the signs and symptoms if you don't feel right, or you have any of the symptoms that I said. So you could have slurred speech, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, shivering, generally feeling discombobulated, like confused. That's also a sign. And not passing any urine, a lot of urine. That's also another sign. That if you have, I would say, two or more of those symptoms, definitely get some medical attention. And you never know. And always ask, could it be sepsis?
Thank you so much, Deesh.
Thanks.